supported this demonstration because it was focused against one of the most fundamental means by which the Communist Party maintains its rule. That is, to accuse people of fabricated political crimes. The students showed real conviction. They put their lives and their future on the line to fight this unjust system.
When we started out, I was very worried about the possibility of bloodshed. I kept telling the students that if we encountered the police, we should not force our way past them. At one point, the clash with the police was so intense that people could have been trampled to death. I was almost crushed in the crowd. But it was obvious that the police were not ordered to beat people up. They only tried to form a human blockade.
The students met little further resistance. They continued their march toward Tiananmen Square.
The students were very pleased with themselves for breaking through police lines, and the cheering of onlookers made them feel like real heroes. The whole thing now turned into a carnival, because there was no more danger, and everyone was watching the students' big show. That was how I felt later that day, completely different from when I started out.
It had been an unprecedented day. A mass student demonstration held in the face of government warnings had been allowed to march peacefully through the streets. And that very day, the government announced that it was willing to talk.
In this event, both sides had made efforts to exercise restraint. This unprecedented moment could have opened up new possibilities, if only people understood what it meant. But a historical opportunity is often easily overlooked, easily passed by. Unfortunately, this was just what happened.
I had just arrived back in China at that point. I suggested to the students that it was not a good idea to continue staging huge demonstrations. Once you have shown your strength, you should return to classes and try to secure some specific democratic rights on campus.
Few students were ready simply to class. But what should they do next? The triumph of April 27th would be the last moment in which all parties working for change were united. The euphoria soon began to fade, and disagreements over tactics developed.
What a student movement represents is a call for social justice. There are times when we have no choice but to take to the streets to express our ideas, vent our anger, and show our determination to change things. April 27th was such a time. The students did a great job, and the government was forced to change its usual behavior. But our ultimate goal is to change the entire system. This cannot be accomplished by students staying in the streets.
The students demanded that the government grant legal status to their new organization, the Coalition of Independent Student Unions, and talk with them as equals. They wanted Duihua, dialogue.
One of the most important demands raised by the students was for the government to have a dialogue with them. Where did the idea of dialogue come from? Actually, Zhao Ziyang was the first to promote it. He said government leaders should engage in dialogue with ordinary people. The party hardliners opposed this from the start. It's absurd, they said. The party and the people are one family. How can a family negotiate with itself? You're trying to imitate the West. They wouldn't even let us use the word Duihua.
Duihua, dialogue, was a key part of the reformers' strategy to open up the political system. It was aimed at making officials at all levels more responsive to popular opinion. The head of the party, General Secretary Zhao Ziyang, was a leading advocate of these reforms. At the 1987 Party Congress, Zhao was finally able to get the principle of dialogue adopted as official policy. But to have the entrenched party bureaucracy behave in new ways was another matter. On April 29th, the government held a meeting with representatives of the official student union of Beijing. Only a few of the new activists managed to get in. Yuan Mu was the government spokesman. His was not the new, more open-faced that Zhao Ziyang wanted. He spoke with the voice of standard party authoritarianism, and he did most of the talking.